So, just before this is going to be the last video of our first post, because I think it's a humongous amount already, and what I'll do is next time I come back I will finish this before I move on to the next one. But before I go on to the next one, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to be using little glass beads. I'll pull in paper, thread, like embroidery thread, like cotton embroider, little glass beads and bugle beads. Now bugle beads, these are too small. I actually thought I had some bigger than this, but I've got 2 packets the same size as this. I've had these for years and years ago, and I'm talking 25 years ago. I used to do a lot of cross stitch before I developed and went on to study embroidery, do you know what I mean? And I use these a lot. I've had these for like 25 years, but they're quite small, so I need, you can't, where is it? I need to buy some bigger ones, so I'm going to have a look online in a second. Well, when I've done this, I'm going to leave these out to remind me. But I don't need these initially for the next one, so it'll be okay if they take a few days. I don't need them for the early stages, and I don't need these for the early stages, but I've already got these. These are what I bought when I was doing my bling pin pillow. But you're not going to work necessarily the way I'm working. I'm doing all white and blue. You might be working in different colours. You might have different beads that are suitable already. So these are just little tiny glass beads. So I'm going to be using them, and the reason I'm giving you the heads up is because perhaps I should have given you the heads up about what I'm going to do next and what I'm going to use, which is, this is mulberry paper, quite fine mulberry paper. It's just paper with mulberry fibres in it, like silk fibres in it. Can you see them running through it? So it's eminently useful for stitching on. It takes stitch really well, so that's what I'm going to be doing the next stage of this one. So, but if you don't have any of this, you can use fabric, because at the end of the day, I'll tell you in a minute how you can use fabric, because what I'm going to say is, this is how my piece is evolving. Okay, I'll pull out again now. So I haven't actually finished the French knots at the bottom yet in this area. Okay, that's something I need to work on off camera. But in order to progress this piece, I want to do the overlay now for this bit under here. So I'll put that bit to one side. So I'm going to do my overlay now, and it's going to come down here, and I'm going to use this straw silk paper. I'm going to stitch on this. But you can use fabric, because I do think I've got some fabric here. Because the side it's going to be attached is bigger than the area where it's going to finish, it should sit okay if you attach your fabric. If you're using fabric and you attach it, it's not going to flop and droop. So please use fabric if you'd prefer. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this, these are some fabrics. I was playing with designing my own fabrics, and I had a couple of lengths printed. This one is printed on cotton silk, and it's my first attempt. Move that one out from underneath it. It's my first attempt, and can you see how it marries with my design sheet at the back? Right, and the pattern for me was too large. I do like the fabric, it's cotton silk, it's lovely. It was very expensive this, because I got this from Spoonflower. I just rushed headlong in, ordered from Spoonflower, which is in the USA and I'm in the UK. When it came, I had to pay like £11 of customs duty, which really stung me. But I am going to use it, because I'm going to use it today. But then I had a rethink, and I looked for an English printer, and this is my second one. Okay, that's a piece of my second one that's much better in terms of scale, and it also didn't cost me an arm and a leg. So I don't think I'm going to use this one today though. I'm going to use this because it's softer, because I'm going to be stitching it to the paper, so I want it softer. This is cotton, just pure cotton, and even though it is quite soft, it's not as pliable as this one. So I'll be using this one. So, but you can use fabric for this if you don't have the mulberry paper. But I don't think mulberry paper is hard to get hold of. I'm just going to stand up, because behind me I've got something which is this. I'm going to be using this as well. And this is just fibre fill. You've probably got this. You know, this is just standard fibre fill that you use to stuff things with. So I'm going to be using that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, so like I say, I haven't finished the French knots, okay? I will finish them, don't get me wrong, because this sheet would be rubbish without them. Tracing paper. Now I'm going to use tracing paper just to mark out. Right, what I was going to say was, I might not do this, but I'll tell you how I would do it. So I would put tracing paper on top, okay, like that. And I would get my pencil, okay, and I would mark where I wanted this piece to be, what shape I wanted it to be. So it's going to be something like that, okay. Now I don't even know if you can see that line. If I move that away, you might. Okay, so that is the shape I want of mulberry paper to stitch on so that it can be applied to this. And then obviously, when I come to cut my paper, I'm going to cut an extra 2 inches beyond the boundary to enable me to fold that behind and attach it to the bottom sheet. But what I'm thinking is, the mulberry paper actually is quite fine. I might even be able to see through this. I can see through it. So I'm just going to do it like this, mark it straight onto the mulberry paper. So what I will do is, again, just get my line and I'll compare it to the one I've done on the tracing paper and see if there's much difference. No, almost identical. You probably couldn't wish for that, could you? So, what I have done though, and I've just realised, although it doesn't really matter, what I could have done was brought it down a bit, the paper, to give me an edge, a hem here and a hem here. But I didn't do that, but it's not really going to matter, to be honest with you. So it's going to be like that. And then extend it that way, a couple of inches, and just draw a line down there. Okay, and do the faintest little dashed line down here to indicate that I'm not going to stitch beyond that point, because that's the bit that's going to be folded over to the back. Right, and I'm not going to cut this out of the paper yet. I'm going to leave it on like that because I need to work it in a hoop with what I'm going to do. But I do need, so my piece, that's the cutting edge that I've just marked for the hem, okay. I'm going to leave that up there, and just cut it slightly to the side of that cutting edge, just so it's not too big and unwieldy to go in my hoop, okay. And then what I'm going to do basically is just get my fabric, okay, draw little circles. I want pattern in this, so if I go here, well actually I'll go over here, I may as well start at the bottom edge. Draw a circle freehand, because don't forget I'm continuing this theme, it's cohesion and consistency across the patterning. Get my little scissors, which I know I have with me. I brought them, but they're probably hiding somewhere. I did bring them. I know I brought them, why can't I find them? I'll find them when I'm not looking. I'll just have to use my fabric scissors. They'll show up, they're probably under this fabric somewhere. Not under there, not under there. Not there, not there, not there. I know I brought them, I can't believe that. Not over here. I'm just checking to the right hand side of this table. No, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. So I'll just have to cut out with my fabric scissors, which isn't a massive deal. And I'll have to cut my thread with these as well. But never mind. So I'm just cutting this circle out that I've just drawn. Now my aim here is to continue the patterning which I'm doing because I'm using circles as a shape for embroidery, and I'm using a fabric that is printed from a design that was inspired by my first layer. Okay, so can you get that? Can you appreciate that consistency and cohesion? Now I need a sharp needle and some just normal sewing thread. I'm going to use this Gutterman. I use Gutterman to death. Gutterman and cotton abroader. I use them so much. So I'll just thread this needle, just the right needle, yeah. I'm not going to put a knot in it because I never ever put a knot in my thread when I'm just tacking. Because what I'm going to do now is just fold this over once and tack it down all the way around, okay. Now if you've never thought about stitching on paper, I've already done it, haven't I? I've done it on that base with the French knots. I've done it around the circles on the second layer with buttonhole, and now I'm going to applique onto mulberry paper. Paper and stitch is one of the most amazing things you can do because you get such a different effect than you do with fabric. Now if you're extra careful, you could do this kind of stitching on hard paper like this, okay, but you wouldn't be able to put it in a hoop obviously, because I'm going to put this in a hoop, but I can iron this paper when it comes out of the hoop, so that's not going to be a problem because it's only going to be creased around the edges where the hoop's been, so those specific areas will take an iron, because hopefully it won't mean I'm ironing over any of this embroidery. If I'm very careful, because this paper really is like fabric. It's eminently pliable, and it's even okay to damp stretch. If I've used it in the past combined with silk and stitched on it, and it damp stretches as well, so there's never a problem with damp stretching. If you don't know what damp stretching is, then that's an embroidery process that I use all the time, and I use a lot in my other classes. I don't think I'll need to use it in this class, but you know, it's just to say it's an illustration of how useful this mulberry paper is. You can get very thick mulberry paper, but I wouldn't use that. I don't think it would be as pliable. Right, so there it's tacked. Just cut my thread off. So now obviously I want to have as big a hoop as I can handle really, because I don't want to unnecessarily crease this. So my hoop is going to have to be quite tight. And I'm not going to be stitching on every single part of this. I'm just going to be randomly placing these little things on. Tighten my hoop up. So when I've done this, I'm going to have a lot of stitching to do off camera to progress this piece before I come back with the next stage. Right, so I'm in a hoop. It's not, oh see, I've ripped it. You've got to be careful trying to get it drum tight. That isn't drum tight like it would be if it was fabric, so I need to try and rearrange. It doesn't matter if it rips outside of my drawn line, to be honest. But it certainly matters if it rips within that drawn line. Right, so there. Right, so place my little thing on the top. Now I'll put a knot in this because I'm going to attach this permanently to this paper. And you can do these, well I'm going to do them all different sizes, these little circles. So literally as if it was fabric, come up through the paper and go down through the silk. Okay. Now very gently every single process, every single stage, because it wouldn't be difficult to tear this paper and then the whole thing would be ruined. Okay. I'm spacing them quite far apart, not as close as I would if they were fabric, because if I do them too close together, then that one hole could, like, not stretch, but one hole could encroach on the hole next to it and make a bigger hole, and that, I don't want that. So, and the point about the soft fabric is you don't want to have to apply too much pressure to get your needle through that fabric, because if you're pushing hard against this, you're pushing hard against paper, and that could easily tear the paper, and that isn't what you want. That's the last thing you want. So it's just about really being careful now, all the way around here. Now you might think that's not a very nice circle, but it's not finished yet. I'm going to stuff it, and I'm going to edge it as well, and all of that helps to define it. And now my thread's come off my needle, so that helps to define it. Oops. And down. Probably not round enough yet. I need to leave a little bit open to enable me to put the wadding in here. And that's going to have to be done very carefully. Do you know what? I think there's somebody coming to the door. I might have to turn off and go and answer the door. Let's see. Yeah, there is. Just give me a sec. Just need to go and answer that door.